Salamun alaikum. Lugenpresse was a term used in Nazi Germany, which means lying press. Trump popularized the saying fake news. Now, what do these two things have in common? This is a common tool of fascist regimes, cults, religious cults, any group that wants to keep you contained within their system. And I want to tell you what the Quran says about this. But this common tool is basically to cause you to distrust and to mistrust any information or authority that comes from outside of the group. In this case, any authority that would come from outside the Nazi regime or any authority that would come from outside of Trump's fascist presidency. Religious groups do this too. So you see certain groups of Muslims, they'll tell you, don't sit with that person, don't read this book, this person's an innovator. It's all the same thing. Lugenpresse, fake news, it's all the same thing. Now, the Quran teaches us very beautifully something very different than these concepts. The Quran tells us, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Stick with me. Let me break this ayat down for you. It's so beautiful. So this ayat says, O you who have believed, in ja'akum fasiqun. If there comes to you a fasiq with some news. Now, what is a fasiq? People translate this in different ways. Sometimes people say an evil, rebellious person or translations like that. The word fasiq comes from the three-letter root fasaqa, and in Arabic we say fasaqa ar-rutabu an qashrihi, which means the ripe date broke out from its skin. So the word fasaqa in Arabic indicates something that breaks out from like a natural boundary. So a fasiq is someone who breaks out from the boundaries of Allah or the morals of Allah. Now, the Quran further acknowledges that a person like that might come to us with some news. Now, what are we supposed to do with that news? So fascist regimes will tell you anyone who is a fasiq to their regime, meaning anyone who breaks out from the boundaries of their regime, don't listen to any information that they have. And that's the same thing cults will tell you. Anyone who is a fasiq to the group mentality and to the teachings of that group, don't listen to them. But the Quran never told us don't listen to a fasiq. Never told us that. In fact, here the Quran says, In ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. If there comes to you a fasiq, so there comes to you someone who you deem to be someone who is breaking outside of moral teachings, who is not a moral person, who might even be a really bad person, the Quran doesn't say don't accept what they have to say. The Quran doesn't teach us that. It says if they come to you with some news, fatabayyanu, then verify it. So you don't just accept it at face value. You don't just take what they say, but it doesn't also tell us to reject it. It just says to verify it because it could be true. They could bring you something that's true, but you shouldn't just take it blindly. You should verify it. Another thing this verse tells us is in ja'akum fasiqun. It says if there comes to you a fasiq. And to understand the beauty of this and how the Quran's teachings are so different than cult teachings, we have to appreciate the word in the Arabic language, the word that's translated as if. In Arabic, this is what's known as a conditional sentence. And there's various ways we can make a conditional sentence. But what a conditional sentence is you're basing a result on a condition. So you're saying, if this happens, then do this. So two of the really prominent ways to make a conditional sentence in Arabic is by use of the word in, which means if, and by use of the word idha, which means when. So what's the difference between saying in, if this thing happens, and idha, when this thing happens? So when you say idha, when this thing happens, one of the things that indicates is this thing is very likely to happen. So that's why when we say, for example, we're going to do something, we say if Allah wills, insha'Allah, if Allah wills. We don't say idha sha'Allah, when Allah wills, because we don't assume that we know that that thing is going to happen. So when we go back to this verse that we're studying now about the fasiq coming to us with some news, think about the beauty of this when Allah says, in ja'akum fasiq. If there comes to you a fasiq, someone who is immoral, someone who's broken out of the social system, if there comes to you this person, indicating what? That it's not likely or it's uncertain if this would happen. It would be very different if Allah told us, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ, when a fasiq comes to you. Because then Allah will be telling us that for sure this is going to happen. A fasiq is going to come to you with some news. So by Allah saying, in ja'akum fasiq, if there comes to you, then Allah is telling us perhaps that this is something uncertain and we shouldn't just assume that people are fasiq, that people have broken out of morals and are evil people. We shouldn't assume that that's likely to happen. So in Allah using the word in this verse, if this happens, it's actually very optimistic towards those who come to us with news. So we have to know that the Quranic teachings are very different than fascist teachings. And we have to know that this fascist approach to news and information is a way of confining us to the narrative that the totalitarian regime wants us to internalize. Now, again, that doesn't mean we have to trust all news sources. That's just simply saying we don't only have to trust the news sources given to us by the fascist regime. That's actually what they want us to do in order to control our thinking. Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullah. And do you like my pen? Look at the little cat on there. See you guys later.